Hello, my name is Paula Guevara, and today I will be talking to you about genetic engineering in humans. So what is it? Genetic engineering, also referred to as genetic modification, is the deliberate modification of the characteristics of an organism by manipulating its genetic material. So how does it work? The technique involves an enzyme complex known as CRISPR found in many bacteria. CRISPR is a short repeated sequence of RNA that matches the genetic sequence the researcher wants to modify. It works in concert with Cas9, an enzyme that cuts DNA like a pair of molecular scissors. So how is it helpful? Using genetic engineering techniques, we have accumulated a large body of knowledge on how cells and organisms function. And understanding these basic processes in biology is a way to understand the causes of human disease, as well as the opportunities to find new ways to cure diseases or otherwise improve human health. So scientists have created mouse models of cancer. So by creating these models, we have a much better grasp of how tumors initiate and spread, and we can test drugs or other ways to stop their growth. So this is just one example of how genetic modification can be helpful. So has it been tested? It actually has been tested in China. In the study, Jinju Wang, a genetics researcher at Sun Yat-sen University, injected the CRISPR complex into human embryos in order to repair a gene for beta thalassemia. So this is a fatal blood disorder that reduces the production of hemoglobin. The researchers performed the procedure on 86 embryos. 71 of the embryos survived, and the researchers genetically tested 54 of them. So the embryos, which were obtained from local fertility clinics, could not result in births because they had been fertilized by 2 sperms, which prevents the embryos from developing properly. Only 28 of the embryos were spliced successfully, meaning the faulty gene was removed. So the success rate would have to actually be closer to 100% before the technique could be used in viable human embryos. So how is it harmful? The procedure has also caused worrisome mutations in other pairs of the genome. These mutations could have detrimental effects on cells, which is one of the big concerns about gene editing. The use of these techniques in humans possess serious ethical questions as well. So actually, the editors of journals Nature and Science refused to publish the study that I just spoke about for ethical reasons. So even though such technology has the power to advance medicine and human health, it also has its cons. So one of the biggest concerns with genetic modification is that people don't know how these children who will receive this treatment will be treated as they grow older. So already in our society, we treat people differently, whether we want to admit it or not, by either their race or their economic class. And so adding this to the mix brings into question how people would treat kids who have been genetically modified versus kids who have not. Genetic modification will not only be used to enhance genes in order to fix diseases, but rather people are already thinking about modifying their children's eye color, hair color, how tall they can be, and other physical things like that. So it is important to take these factors into account when deciding how and who can use this process. Such ethical reasons are why this process has been put to a halt, and people are researching more about it and also trying to conduct some type of research that will show how these individuals will be affected as they grow. So as time progresses, it is important that scientists are able to know all of the negative effects that this process can cause and eliminate as much of them as they can. Also, if this process is approved and people do start using it, it is important that the government put regulations on how far they can take this process, such as modifying physical features. It is not only important to understand how these children will be affected genetically, but also psychologically. So, like I mentioned before, we don't know how they will be treated, or if there will be a difference in how they will be treated or how they treat others. So it is important to do psychological tests on these children if it ever does become such a popular process. It is important, scientists say that it will be important to keep up with these children and see how they are adapting and see if they are struggling in any way, shape, or form. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.